So I started this channel about 18 months ago, and if you've been watching regularly, you'll know that I own a lot of cameras, but there are two main cameras in my collection. Firstly, the love of my life is this, the DJI Osmo Action. It's my main camera when I'm out and about, and I've made a lot of videos about why I love it. My second main camera is this. It's the original Canon M6, which is the main camera for me when I'm filming in studio. The DJI Action 1 is great for outdoors because it's got exceptional video stabilization. However, when I'm filming inside, my camera is on a tripod. I don't need stabilization. What I do need is better video quality, and the bigger sensor on the Canon delivers a superior image. Here's a side-by-side comparison, and if you're watching in 4K or HD, then you could probably tell that the Canon is in a different league when it comes to picture quality. However, it doesn't do 4K, and that's been nagging away at me for a while. I want a 4K studio camera. So, as usual, I decided to do some research and work out what camera would be best for me. And if I'm going to get a new studio camera, I need to create a wish list of features. Firstly, I need 4K. I want it to be small and light, good autofocus, and excellent colors, because I am too lazy to do color correction while editing. And I've got a limited budget, so the whole thing needs to be under £1,000. That's about $1,500, $1,600 US. By the way, yes, the obvious move would be to buy the Canon M6 Mark II. However, Canon has not been supporting the EFM system, and the range of lenses remains very limited. So I've decided to explore other brands. Initially, I was trying to decide between the Sony ZV-1 or ZV-1 and the Panasonic FZ-2000. Both have a 1-inch sensor, and I really like the idea of an integrated zoom lens. I don't actually like the hassle of interchangeable lenses. I prefer the idea of an all-in-one camera system, but in the end, I came to a very obvious conclusion. You can't go from APS-C to a 1-inch sensor, which is a lot smaller, to be honest. That's far too big a downgrade for your studio camera. So I went back to the drawing board and created a more detailed wish list and decided to include absolutely everything, make it a proper wish list, and then see if there's something out there that's actually perfect for my needs. So here it is. I want a camera that has a sensor that's larger than 1 inch, is small and lightweight, has excellent autofocus, records 4K video, ideally without a crop, has a microphone input, a front-facing screen, and, if possible, is weather sealed. And if it has image stabilization, that would definitely be a bonus, because I may sometimes take it outside for videos too. And I know this wish list is asking a lot for less than £1,000. Now, I could go into a long spiel about how I did tons of research and many hours of dedicated reading on the subject. That would be a lie, because all I did was find a website that lets you choose the features you want and tells you what your options are when it comes to cameras. And from the results, I came to the conclusion that I should start exploring the Micro Four Thirds system, or MFT as a lot of people call it. When it comes to MFT, there are three main brands to choose from: Panasonic, Olympus, and Blackmagic. Now, Blackmagic make cinema quality cameras. Literally, these are cameras used by professional cinematographers to make big budget movies and TV shows. However, they're not really a sensible choice for enthusiasts like me, mainly because they're expensive and they have no articulating screen. Okay, they're not able to do this kind of thing. So it had to be either a Panasonic or an Olympus. I'd heard that Panasonic has a terrible reputation for autofocus, also quite inadequate stabilization, and their color science isn't very good either. Like I said, far too lazy to color grade my footage. I always use raw footage straight out of camera, and I refuse to spend time on image manipulation. Olympus has a reputation for excellent colors straight out of camera. Furthermore, Olympus cameras are also known for having the most excellent stabilization. Now, in case you don't know, Sony has the absolute best autofocus, and the reason for that is that Sony uses phase detect autofocus. It's the fastest autofocus in the market. Well, as it happens, about half the Olympus mirrorless cameras also have phase detect autofocus. Olympus makes three types of cameras: the EM10 range, which is for amateurs, the EM5 range, which is their mid-range offering, and the EM1 range, which is for professionals. Now, the EM1 range has every feature I could possibly want. Going back to the wish list, the Olympus EM1 range ticks all of these boxes. Unfortunately, those cameras are very expensive, as you'd expect. They're also quite big and heavy. However, I learned that the new Olympus EM5 Mark III, and new is a relative term here, the EM5 Mark III, which is supposed to be the mid-range camera, is surprisingly close in specs to the pro-level EM1 cameras. It has exactly the same sensor. It even has the slightly higher resolution of Cinema 4K or DCI. I don't know what that means. But the fact is, many reviewers have described the EM5 Mark III as the cheapest pro-level camera available. So, the realistic choices for me were the Olympus EM1 Mark II, which costs about £700 used, and the Olympus EM5 Mark III, which is about £600 on the second-hand market. That's not a huge difference, but then I saw an EM5 Mark III open box for £430, ridiculously cheap, and it came with a flash too. Obviously, I bought it. So now I had essentially a pro-level MFT camera and still had £570 left for lenses. By the way, the EM5 Mark III is definitely weather sealed. Here's Gordon from Camera Labs doing something crazy that I won't be repeating myself. He's done it though, so you know it works. But this demonstration does give me confidence that my new camera can cope with British weather. It is very important to remember that you do need a weather sealed lens too. Both your camera and lens needs to be weather sealed, otherwise your device won't survive a heavy rain shower. And speaking of lenses, once again I made a list of my needs. When it comes to lenses, I want to cover the following: ultra-wide, vlogging, street photography, portraits, and travel zoom. And remember that small and light was the priority. I didn't want any lens over 250 grams. But I was willing to be flexible too. A quick note about lenses, by the way. The Micro Four Thirds system has what's called a crop factor of 2. I'll probably cover that in more detail in a future video. For now, it's enough to know that you need to multiply the focal length of any MFT lens by 2 if you want to know what the full frame equivalent would be. So, a 30mm MFT lens gives you an image that's equivalent to 60mm on a full frame camera, approximately. A 50mm MFT lens gives you an image that's equivalent to 100mm on a full frame camera. So let's talk lenses. And here is what I eventually bought. Firstly, I have the 9mm f8 fisheye lens by Olympus, I believe. Yes, Olympus. 14mm f2.5 by Panasonic, really do like this one. A Leica 25mm f1.4, a 30mm f2.8 by Sigma, a 45mm 1.8 by Olympus, and in addition I picked up 2 zoom lenses. Firstly, we have the 12 to 32mm Pancake, very thin, by Panasonic, and the 12 to 60mm Panasonic zoom as well. And all of these serve very different purposes. Now, in my view, the ideal vlogging lens is about 20mm full frame equivalent, so that's 10mm for Micro Four Thirds. However, there are no cheap and small 10mm MFT lenses. There is a 12mm f2 which would be ideal, but that's a minimum of £300 even in the used market. I could potentially use my 9mm fisheye for vlogging. The 18mm full frame equivalent, which is what this is actually my favourite field of view for vlogging. But this lens is only f8, so the images are generally quite dark unless you're in bright sunlight. And I'm also not a fan of fisheye distortion because it's such a pain to correct it later in the editing suite. In the end, for vlogging outside, I chose to get the best thing available, the 14mm f2.5 for just £95. At that price, it's an absolute bargain. The best full frame focal length for street photos is about 40mm. I did consider the 20mm Panasonic f1.7, but it's a very old and quite noisy lens, so it wouldn't be able to do video. So instead, I got a Panasonic Leica 25mm f1.4 for just £212. This is equivalent to the classic Nifty 50 that I've mentioned on this channel before. It's ideal for general street photography, and this particular lens has an almost mythical reverence among MFT enthusiasts. It's not the most expensive, but a lot of MFT using pros say it has a magical quality to the images it delivers. I'm not that enthusiastic, but I do really like what this lens can deliver. The Panasonic 25mm can also be used for portraits. However, I bought it mainly to film vlogs at home, basically for my pieces to camera. For proper portrait photography, I bought myself the Olympus 45mm f1.8, and it cost me just £80. This is widely regarded as the best MFT portrait lens. I also decided to buy a lens hood, and at just £8 it was a totally sensible extra purchase. I also picked up a Sigma 30mm f2.8 for just £67, but I'm definitely going to sell this Sigma as I don't really need it. By the way, I could have chosen a weather-sealed Panasonic 30mm f2.8, but those go for about £250 even in the used market, and they are much bigger and heavier than this Sigma equivalent. For my future travel videos, I absolutely need a weather-sealed lens. Sadly, the Panasonic 25mm I bought is a version 1, and only version 2 of this lens is weather-sealed. I did have the option to buy an Olympus 12-50mm for £100. That's definitely weather sealed. It also has a macro function and is very much designed for video use. It also has the advantage of being an Olympus lens, and in general, Olympus lenses work best on Olympus cameras. I could have also got the Panasonic 12-35mm f2.8 Pro. However, it costs about £400 used and would have totally blown my budget. So instead, I went for a Panasonic 12-60mm, which cost just £140. Now, this is weather sealed, it's lightweight and compact, and absolutely perfect for taking with you on holidays. It's sharper than the 12-50mm Olympus. In fact, it has significantly better optical performance, and I don't think I need a macro function at all. Also, that extra 10mm of zoom, or 20 in full frame equivalent, is better for vacations. And I even got a UV filter included for free. Now, as well as travel, the 12-60mm is good enough to use as a studio lens, as long as you've got decent lighting. It feels very, very well built too. Finally, I wanted a backup travel lens. And as I love pancakes, lenses, not the food, the logical choice was this Panasonic 12-32mm, which set me back just £82. Now, this one is not weather sealed, and pancake lenses never are, in my experience, but it's optically sharp, ridiculously small, and weighs almost nothing. So I can keep it in my pocket or my camera bag without trouble. It's the perfect backup lens. Finally, it's time to have a little bit of fun. This Olympus 9mm fisheye lens is hilariously small. It was going for a ludicrous price. I saw it for £44 and just bought it on impulse. I don't really need it at all, but it looks cute and I couldn't resist. So, that's my new collection. I will do separate videos on each of these lenses, so be sure to subscribe. So, I didn't quite manage to stay under budget. Switching to Micro Four Thirds has basically cost me about £1,100, which is approximately $1,500–1,600 US dollars. Now, here's the big question. If I could go back in time, would I do things differently? Maybe. Perhaps I should have bought an Olympus 12–40mm f2.8. They're going for about £400 on eBay nowadays, and if I bought that with an Olympus 45mm 1.8, that combination could have been everything I could possibly need. In fact, I could sell pretty much all of these lenses and get myself the Olympus Pro zoom lens instead, and I might. I'm definitely selling the Sigma 30mm, and I might even make a profit on that, as it happens. I might sell the Olympus 45mm, but probably not. You see, the thing that's holding me back is that the 12–40mm Pro weighs far too much. But of course, it's also convenient because it covers a big range of focal lengths in a very fast package. Anyway, for now, this is the extent of my lens collection. I'm pretty happy with it, and I look forward to reviewing all of these in the near future. And in case you were wondering, I'm not getting rid of my Canon M6. I'm not planning to use it for videos anymore, but it's a great camera for photography, so I'm going to hold on to it. That's all for today. I'll be back with another video very soon. Later, nerds.